Hi, I'm going to be doing an album review for you. The album I'm going to be reviewing is from Bruce Dickinson. I heard his stuff in Iron Maiden, and I might have heard maybe a little tiny bit of his solo work, but I figured I wanted to give it a chance. And so I picked an album not totally at random, but I figured that this album had a picture of him standing by a wall, and it was kind of a low-key album cover, and I figured that I might as well try listening to this album because it didn't have like any kind of enticing elements as far as the cover is concerned. It was more, I wanted to hear something where only the music was going to be the thing that I focused on. So I picked an album called Balls to Picasso. I thought, okay, I don't know his solo work that much. I figured that I would listen to it and maybe I might like some of it, maybe whatever. And I would give my review on it. I was very surprised. First, I want to say I figured I might as well hear at least one Bruce Dickinson solo album because I knew that sometimes, even if someone works mostly in a group context, the person might have other types of music they want to put out, and solo albums are a good way to do what they might not otherwise do in their regular groups. I might have heard a few snippets here and there of some Bruce Dickinson solo stuff in the past, but I never really heard a whole solo song by him, let alone a whole album, so I picked an album to review because I wanted to say finally that I got a chance to hear something of his solo work. I did not expect to react how I did. I thought I would get it over with and give my review and move on. Balls to Picasso by Bruce Dickinson, even though it does not sound like Iron Maiden, Balls to Picasso is really a good album, and I feel somewhat more enlightened after hearing it. I think it's better than some of Iron Maiden's stuff, and rivaling some of their best work. I'll give it a song-by-song review, because that's what I do, but I won't say a lot about each song, even if I do say a lot about each song, but I won't, or I will, because what more is there to say except I think it's great? Anyway, Cyclops, the first song, for those of you who like Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind album and the song Where Eagles Dare, this does not at all sound like that. But it sounds just as exciting as that. The group he plays with is explosive. I am totally impressed with this song. The second song, Hell No. This is another song that sounds great. I think that more people ought to listen to Bruce Dickinson's solo work than Iron Maiden. It's a great song that reminds me a little bit of some of the industrial metal types of bands out there, but so much better than most of them. This group backing Bruce is one of the best hard rocking groups I've heard in a long time. And then Gods of War, the third song. This is absolutely awesome. The passion in his voice and the musicianship, I cannot emphasize enough that this album so far is becoming a favorite of mine. More than Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind, which some people would say I'm crazy to compare with this album. But even though musically this album is different than that album, it's even more exciting than that album so far. This song definitely ought to be heard. Go check it out. And then the next song, 1000 Points of Light. This was a bit different, but I could dig it. I thought the instrumentation was like a really strange and twisted, almost Aerosmith type of tune, but with a little bit of a Prodigy song style to it. Please don't take that the wrong way. I mean it as a compliment. It's a good song, and a good group is playing it. And then the next song is Laughing in the Hiding Bush. I don't want to say this album sounds like grunge, because I come from a time when music genres were not so compartmentalized. So I will not say it sounds like grunge, but I will say it sounds like some groups who are considered to be grunge and who would want to sound like if they were more exciting. This song is totally heavy and great, and I can hear the passion in what Bruce sings about. It's a totally great song. The next song is called Change of Heart. This song is more mellow, and I like it. It's a change of pace from what has been on the album so far, but I can see how there might be a need to be a song that's a less heavy song to balance out the musical landscape. I like it. And then the next song, Shoot All the Clowns. I cannot deny that this song was probably influenced by Guns N' Roses and perhaps even the Red Hot Chili Peppers, except to say that this song I like better than those groups. Bruce does it right. This is a great song, and I'm surprised and excited that he delved into this kind of music because he did it right, and I really love this song. The next song is Fire. This is like if a group like Soundgarden was around in the 70s. It has a sort of Soundgarden sound in parts, but also like 70s groups in parts. But I really like it. I think this album is interesting because side one was a little bit more of a certain sound structure, and side two is more of a variety, but a variety that works. I definitely think this album is worth hearing. And then Sacred Cowboys, the next song. Some parts of this song were done like rap, and I don't mind it because he did it well. I do like the song overall. The only critical thing I'll say about it is the chorus sounded like he used something he might have done in Iron Maiden. But that doesn't mean it wasn't done well, but it might have been the one thing I thought he might have gave a concession to, in case his audience felt like they needed to hear a little something like Iron Maiden. So I do like it, and I wouldn't skip it, but if any song was my least favorite on here, this could qualify. But I have to say I did like it. And then the next song, the last song, well, it's the next song on the album, and it's also the last song. Unless you get the bonus disc, which I didn't hear. I'm only doing the regular album because that's usually what I do. But the last song on the regular album is Tears of the Dragon. When the song started, I automatically thought this is the worst song on the album. It sounds like a concession to the Iron Maiden sound, as if Bruce thought he needed to do something to entice Iron Maiden fans to buy the album, but with a song that wasn't so hot. But then the middle part came on and it smoked, and it was one of the best things on the album. So I was ready to give it a combination of hot and cold. But then the original theme and music came on, and I figured it's 25% of an awesome song and 75% of a not as good song. I do think this is one song that's the least worthwhile on the album, even though some people think it's the best. I feel it's a matter of taste, but aesthetically I think it had nothing to do with the rest of the album, and it could have been left off. But the middle part is explosive and totally worth hearing. So one filler song, or mostly, if not all filler song, on an album where all the other songs are worth hearing. That's pretty good. I definitely suggest you hear it. So, if you are someone who is expecting it to sound like an Iron Maiden album, and you're one of those typical heavy metal guys who doesn't like to delve into other types of music, I would say I don't even want you to hear this review if that's your attitude, because you have a shallow viewpoint, and I don't want to have you tell me, hey man, you're wrong, because, hey, I'm not. But what I will say is that I do like the album a hell of a lot better than a lot of what Iron Maiden has done. And there were a couple of songs that I thought were maybe not the very best. And I have to explain that I have not yet heard the other solo albums that that Bruce Dickinson has done, so I might like them better. This is the first one that I heard, but I do like it. And for me to like almost everything except for maybe mostly one song and maybe halfway another song, but the rest of it I think is fantastic. If the rest of you who like his other work think his other work is better, I'm a little bit afraid of your opinion, because if you're like the kind of person who doesn't think the way I do about music, you might not be giving me a good guide. But I'll take my chance and decide on my own. I do think this album, Balls of Picasso, is definitely worth checking out. I think that 80 to 85% of it is totally great. Anyway, that's been my review. Cheers.